Hello, I'm Laura MacPhee, a reporter at Pensions Insight and Engaged Investor magazines, and I'm here with Matthew Arends, a principal at Aon Hewitt. Well, welcome, Matthew. How are you enjoying the conference so far?
Very much so. Very, very busy and lively. Nice. Good to see so many contributors and guests here.
Good, glad to hear it. So, could you tell me a bit more about your 2013 Global Pension Risk Survey?
Absolutely. So this is the survey itself. Very, very grateful to everybody who responded to the survey. We had over 200 responses, and the survey covers 3 million pension scheme members and £300 billion worth of assets. So it's a very sizable survey that gives the state of the nation on pension risk. Respondents came from a variety of backgrounds, both trustees, corporates, pensions managers. So we can see a broad spectrum and in some instances differences of views between those different groups of people. Moreover, the survey covers schemes with asset sizes from less than £50 million up to the £1 billion plus schemes. So again, we can start drawing some differences out amongst schemes of different sizes. The survey itself has been running for 6-7 years now, so we can start seeing some trends as well in the way that schemes are approaching risk.
So, what were the main survey findings?
Well, perhaps it's no surprise to anybody that we found that almost a half of pension schemes are now closed to all accrual, and indeed those that are still open are heading that way in many instances. So it's quite natural to ask yourself, if you're looking after a scheme in that position, what's the next step? And quite often that's to look towards the end game where there's less risk in the pension scheme. Again, no surprising in the findings there that over 80% of pension schemes have some sort of low risk target in mind, and some plan to get there. So we asked, well, how long do you expect it to take to get to that de-risked position? Now, what was interesting was we'd asked that question 4 years ago. So in 2009, the average answer was 11 years. 2020, in rough terms, is when schemes expected to de-risk. Now, if 2020 was still the answer in 2013, you'd expect it to be a 7-year time horizon now. Actually, it's gone out to 13 years, so actually schemes expect it to take longer to reduce risk in their schemes. It's perhaps easy to see why, with the fall in index-linked gilt yields, and gilt yields generally, deficits have ballooned, de-risking has become more of a challenge, but nevertheless, the motivation to de-risk has remained as strong as ever.
So, how can pension schemes de-risk in the current environment?
Well, it's not easy, but I think a plan that follows my 3 Ps will help. So what are the 3 Ps? Well, they are plan, prepare, and compete. Bit of a cheat, I know, but those are my 3 Ps. So what do I mean by those? Plan will have some sort of flight plan for how you're going to get from where you are now to this long-term de-risk position, how long it will take, the contributions that are required, what that long-term future will look like. And we found that the larger schemes have done a lot more work in that area and have much more robust plans. And for instance, we've found that the more care you put into developing that plan, the more likely it is to succeed. For instance, if you have triggers in place for doing your de-risking, you're 70% chance of being better funded than if you have no triggers. So that's plan. Prepare is about having everything in place to carry out your de-risking steps when the time is right. And think here of annuity purchase. We found that many schemes do not know in detail what their benefits are. For instance, what is the spouse's pension for their current pensioners, and that is preventing them getting a keen price for their annuity purchase. And finally, compete. Now this is a big thing, I think, which is with so many schemes wanting to de-risk, actually to some extent they're all competing with one another. And when it comes to a market like the annuity market, there's only a limited amount of capacity. Now, that might change in future, but the way things currently stand, if annuity prices suddenly become a lot more attractive, there's every possibility of schemes all wanting to purchase annuities at the same time, and some are going to be disappointed. So my idea with compete is to make sure that you're at the front of the queue by doing as much as you can in advance.